Do you ever feel like you're the bottleneck to your actual business? This happens to leaders all the time. So, how do you identify the habits that are keeping your business dependent on you and the exact shift you need to create to get a self sufficient team? I hear this in leaders all the time. Like, if I wasn't there, I don't think things would get done. And it's not about whether or not you have talent on the team, it's whether or not you're developing the team into being leaders. And we as leaders can be the bottleneck, we're the lid to that success. So today I kind of want to talk a little bit about what that is. And I'm going to ask some hard questions. Like, what if your biggest thing slowing down the growth of your business is not the market? It's not your team. It's not even your competition. It's actually you. Yeah, this is what we see all the time. I see it when I'm coaching people all the time. And I know it's uncomfortable because most leaders think they can carry the business on their own. They can do it with enough grit, with enough force. They got this. But if you're actually carrying it because you've built it just to depend on you? I don't know about you, but leverage is such a high level of things that we need to develop as leaders so that we can start to develop other people. So I want to show you how that if you are being the bottleneck, if you are stopping success, if everything is coming to you, I want to give you some ways to maybe fix that for yourself. I had to learn this the hard way whenever I was running a big office. I was running an office with 8 full-time employees. We had over 300 agents within our company, and I felt if I showed up every day and I worked really hard, and if I did everything I was supposed to do. But what I found was every one of my employees, everyone in my leadership team was coming to me for questions. Kimberly, what about this? Kimberly, what about this? And I'm like, these are questions you can answer. Matter of fact, a really funny story is I was looking for a bio for my owner, and he was going to come and speak to our office, and I was super excited him coming. And I literally sent him an email and says, "Hey, can I get your bio?" Now this is an owner of multiple businesses, high net worth, and he goes, when he sent me this email, he says, "I'm pretty sure you can Google and get my bio." Now, at first, I was like, how dare he do that to me? And then I thought to myself, he's not wrong. Why do I need to go to him for a bio? Like, I just need to find something on him to get it done. So what it taught me very fast is that I absolutely could do all of this on my own. And so when I was in that same situation with my leadership team and they were coming to me for every question, that I had to take a pretty big stand to say, "Hey, listen, why don't you go give me the answer?" I didn't take on the responsibility anymore. Let me just fix it for you. I said, "Well, what would you do?" Right? And if they would give me an answer and I knew it was right there, but maybe it could do something a little bit different, I might add to it. I've coached thousands of leaders who are also doing that same thing. Matter of fact, I had a call with someone yesterday, and her first response was, "I think I'm going to stay at home and do a big portion of my job because when I come into the office, everybody needs me." Well, they all need her because she answers every question. They all need her because when she knocks, they open the door. They all need her because when they say, "We need you," she's there instead of giving them the ability to do it themselves. So whenever you're looking at your business and you're saying to yourself, Am I the bottleneck?" You might need to look at what you are doing and saying. Another great example is when I hired my first executive admin. We had to come up with systems because I wanted her to be very self-sufficient in what it is, and I didn't want her to need me. I also wanted to make sure things got taken care of. There's a lot of times when we're high producing, we're high drivers, and we're wanting it to get out there and really push, that we don't want to be taken advantage of. We want to make sure that our time that we're giving to someone or we're paying someone to do something is being done at a very high level. So we started creating systems that when she would do something, she would check it off and just hand it to me. We would create a to-do list and she would just hand it back to me. And then she would set aside time to ask me questions. And the one thing that I told myself every time we had a meeting is when she asked me if this was what she should do, I asked her what her opinion was first. And what that did is it started to give her the ownership of what she need, and it stopped being less dependent on me and more depending on them. So, what is the actual bottlenecks? A bottleneck is anything that limits speed, it limits capacity, it limits growth in your business. So if your business is not going as fast as you want it, or if you're looking at your business and say we have more potential, or if you're looking at your business and saying we want more growth and we're unable to do it, you probably have a bottleneck issue, and I hate to tell you it, it's probably you. Most people think bottlenecks are they need more money, they need to hire more people, they need to market more, they need more technology, do more on social media, they need to do more. It's not always the case. Can it be the case? Yes, absolutely. But it's not always the case. The biggest bottleneck is actually the leader of the company. They're the visionary. They're the driver of the bus. They're the one saying, everybody get on, we're going this way. And if we're not clear about what we do, we can be the bottleneck. If we don't give people the ability to be able to do what they do, we are the bottleneck. Here's a good example. My employees won't make a decision. My question is, have you trained them on the decisions? Have you asked them, what would you do if I wasn't here? What would be your answer? And then you can always add more to it. Another question you might hear all the time is they ask me everything. We kind of just went through that. If they're asking you everything, that means they have no ownership. Have you taught them ownership? Have you said, that's a great idea, run with it? Have you let them know that they can actually make decisions? I don't think there's a lot of big, massive mistakes we can't change in business, right? You can put parameters on what that looks like, meaning don't buy anything over a certain amount. Other than that, free reign, go. I just want to, let me know or whatever it is. Do you have to prove everything? If you're the only approval process, one, you don't trust the people on their team, or maybe you just haven't put the parameters. Why do you have to approve everything? And please don't tell me because I need to control it all. Control freak is the exact same thing as a bottleneck. When you need to hold on to everything, when you're holding on to everything, you're only one human. If you want to grow, go faster, make more money, succeed at a higher level, you need people surrounding you. We were not built to be by ourselves. We were built to be with people. And great leaders know this. Great leaders know I need to make my world so big that when someone else comes into my world, their business can grow as well. I had several years back, I had a top producer, and she had a big team. And I was coaching one of her teammates in regards to it. And she says, this person is talent, and I have to really grow my business so that this person stays with me. Well, fast forward a year later, the talent left. You know why? Because the owner was unwilling to grow fast enough for them. Now, you could say, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. And that's fine, but have awareness around it so you can start to change it. When talent comes into your world, they're going to push you, and they're going to push you big. And they're not pushy, but they're wanting to see more. When someone says, I want to be on your team, I want to learn from you, make a space for them so that they can do that. So, what are 7 signs that maybe you are the bottleneck? Now, as I go through this, I'd love for you to kind of rank yourself, like tell yourself how it is. And I want this to be the framework that you're looking at. Are you the one that's stopping the business from the growth, from the money, from the speed that you want? The first one, everyone waits on you. Nothing moves unless you respond. If that's the case, you're the bottleneck. You're answering the same question over and over and over. And you're probably thinking, why are people dumb? Well, they're not dumb. There's a system missing. I always tell people, if you're doing something more than one time on a repeated basis, put a system to it, put a plan to it, put a model to it. You can always tweak the plan, tweak the model, but put a system to it. It doesn't have to be entrepreneurial every time you do something. Number 3, you solve problems faster than you develop people. This is going to be a huge lesson for you if you continue to do this. Remember, as a leader, my main job is to develop the people around me. If I'm constantly taking the job back, don't be disappointed when the job's been given back to you or someone leaves. People like to feel like they have some ownership in what they're creating, some ownership in what they're doing. So you have to be developing on that, encouraging them, correcting them, giving them other ways to do it. If not, you're going to be hitting that door over and over and over, or the ceiling, or whatever it is. You're going to be hitting a wall no matter what. Number 4, you believe that if you do it, you'll be faster at it. And maybe that's the case. You can go fast by yourself, but you can go farther with others. And I want you to understand, look at what you're doing. If you really believe you're the best at it, then why do you even want a team around you? Just go with what you got. But don't get disappointed if you can't go much farther. All right, number 5, every vacation creates chaos. Well, this is going to always be the case. I always love it. Have you ever had that thing like you're about to go on vacation, get a lot of stuff done, or when you go on vacation, business always shows up? Well, as a leader, you have to kind of protect who you are, your energy, your time, your mental capacity. Vacation is required. Nothing makes me crazier than I'm talking to a leader and they say to me, I haven't been on vacation in 2 years. That is not a badge of honor. You need to go on vacation. You need to support what you're doing. If you're on vacation, you get time to kind of pull back and rest. Well, your team should be able to take care of it. If you have constant chaos every time you go on vacation, your team is not prepared to run the business without you. So you got to figure out, how can I go on vacation? And when I get back, they go, everything is fine. All right, let's look at number 6. Your calendar is full of decisions, and they're usually not big decisions. There's lots of tiny decisions, meaning you spend more time in the day putting out fires than you do creating something. There's this great concept of working on the business versus in the business. If your calendar is full of a lot of tiny decisions, you're in the business all day. When you're in the business, you can't kind of see a deeper vision, a farther view. But when you can step out of that and see a bigger view of where you want to go, you're now being the visionary that you were designed to be. Remember, our greatest energy as leaders is when we are creating vision and executing that piece. But there's a lot of little things that can pull your energy out. And lots of times it's those little bitty decisions that you're making on a regular basis. All right, number 7. This is a big one. And you are still going to leave the day this way, but this you should not leave every day exhausted. If you're leaving every day exhausted, it's probably not because you worked hard. It's probably because you carried everyone else's job, everyone else's thinking, everyone else's problems. You put it on your shoulder and you carried it out. You should be leaving the job going, man, that was a good day. We got a ton done. And I say the word we because we is in the team. You should not be leaving every day and like, I can't do another day like that. So those are the 7 bottlenecks that you need to kind of look on. So what I would say is go back and rate yourself on those things. Do I do this? Or think back an example you have. Remember, we don't have to have a 180 turn in everything we do. Make small changes, little 1% difference. They make the biggest difference in your business. All right, well, let's kind of get to the why leaders become bottleneck. I think this is a big one. It's generally not because they think they're the only one who can do it. I do think there are some people out there who do that, but usually we become the bottleneck because of fear. We become the bottleneck because of control. Maybe there's an identity like I'm the leader, so everything comes back to me. So I've got to hold on to this with white knuckles until I get there. Maybe it's perfectionism. Maybe you want it to be as perfect as you'll do it. Sometimes 80% is better than not getting there at all. Lots of times I find it's lack of systems. People don't have enough systems in place for that to work. If you're constantly having to answer the same question over and over, that's a system problem. There's also things in leaders. We got to where we are because we like to be needed. We like to be seen. We like to be wanted by that. Unfortunately, though, when you're looking at the growth, you can't be the only one who has all the answers. There are stories that you might be putting on this. There may be examples about how you can look at where you've been the bottleneck. So I want you to kind of look back at yourself and say, where have I kind of been that bottleneck? Where have I done that? I saw this in one time. We were at a big event and I had, 30 of my people there. And a big part of what I wanted our leadership team to do is keep us kind of together and we would set up time. And I remember running around so frustrated that my leadership team was not doing what I wanted them to do. And one of my leaders pulled me aside and she says, if you just tell me what you want to do, I'll do it for you. And what I realized is that I had a vision in my brain and I did not share it with everybody on the team. And it created chaos and it created me thinking they don't care enough. They don't want to do it. And that wasn't the case. They just didn't know what I wanted because I never told them. So you might look back at a time and you go, oh, I've had that time before. I got very frustrated with the team because they didn't do it. I bet the big likelihood is that you never told them what you really wanted. So I want to look at some ways that you can make a shift. And these can be one. So I want you to pick one. There are 4 of them. Pick one that you want to start to work on today. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do have to be aware of it. I want you to go from a hero to the leader. Now, when I say that, I want you, like Kimberly, I'm not trying to be the hero. Well, if you're holding everything, yes, you are. See, a hero will solve the problem. A leader will develop the people. And that's a big difference. If you're constantly solving stuff, you need to pull back and go, okay, I don't have to solve this. One of my favorite things to do whenever I used to be and I had 500 people under my business. And somebody would come up to me and they go, Kimberly, I need you. And I would be like, all right, great. And I would do this. I'm like, let me check my calendar while I'm looking. What do you need? Well, I need help with, and they would say something that I knew the answer to, but I didn't want to answer it. Because if I answered to it, guess who they came to every single time? Me. And I would say something like this. Oh my gosh, that is such a good question. And I tell you what, I could answer it, but I don't know if I would be right. Let's go find, they always know the right answer to this. What did I do in that moment? I stopped being the hero. I didn't answer it, even though I could have answered it just like this. I knew the answer. But what I did is I said, hey, you don't want to come to me for these kind of problems. You want to go to her or to him. They always have the right answer. I'm giving the person in my leadership team, I'm lifting them up. I'm letting them be the hero, them know the answer because I didn't know it or I wasn't going to be right about it. All right, here's another one. A second shift you can look at. Instead of answering, ask questions. Stop answering everything and start asking something. I will tell you, this is probably my hardest one, right? Someone says something, I'm like, yeah, I've got an answer for you. And generally it's because it's a knee-jerk reaction. I can immediately just jump in and go, blah, 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 instead of asking them more things. I learned, I can't even remember who I learned it from, but it was so great. And they said, go 3 questions deep before you make before you ask an answer. Meaning someone may ask you a question of, how do I do fill in the blank, whatever your business is. And you may go, well, okay, well, what is it that you want to do when you do this? How would that look? What are you expecting from the outcome? Why is this important to you? Just ask questions around what it is. And you may go, Kimberly, I don't know how to go 3 questions deep. You don't have to go 3 questions deep. You got to go one though. Start with one question around it. All right, tell me what your what you want this outcome to look like, right? And then dive deeper into this. When you start asking more questions, one, you're controlling the conversation, but one, you're giving them the ability to start to open up their creativity, open up their brain. They start to think more when they go, oh, they're asking my questions. One of my greatest mentors, and I loved him for it. We were two different types of personalities. He was very introspective, and when he spoke, it was very eloquent. And I am full of energy. I use my hands a lot, obviously. And I remember people would come up with a problem and he would look at me and he'd go, Kimberly, what do you think? Now, I knew he knew the answer, but he would come to me and go, hey, tell me what you think about this. And I would go, oh, and then I would give my opinion. Now, whether he took my opinion or added to the opinion or took away from the opinion, I didn't care. I was just so happy I was asked because what it told me is somebody that I looked up to valued my opinion. And I remember the one day he called me, he goes, I need your opinion about something. It probably is something I can still remember exactly where I was sitting when he asked it because I sat there and I went, yeah, ask me because I want to give it to you because I'm excited to give you something because you've given me so much. All right, the third shift you can do. Go from doing to designing, meaning we've mentioned this a couple times, but if you're constantly doing the same things over and over, stop doing them and start designing a system and then give someone else the ownership over it. We used to do a leadership meeting every Monday morning. And the way that I used to do the meetings is I literally would jump right into the meetings and I ran the entire 1 hour meeting for the entire team. And I realized it was a drain on me. I mean, it started the first thing on Monday morning at 8:30. And by 9:30, I left that meeting going, I have worked a full day. So then what I did is I said, okay, why do I have to run the whole meeting? Why doesn't everybody in the group have ownership of it? So exactly what I did. I took the agenda, I broke it down. Everybody in the meeting were reporting out on their parts of the business. I didn't need to run it or ask them questions. I would just say, okay, Mary, tell us a little bit about what's going on in X. I designed a way for them to have ownership in that one meeting. I had my part and they had theirs. So stop being the doer and start being the designer of what they're doing. All right, here's the last one. This is the fourth shift, and this is the shift. This is going to be the hardest for most of you, probably, to go from a control to a trust. Now, trust isn't blind, trust is earned, trust is not told, and trust can be trained as well. Meaning, if you've got white knuckles and you're trying to control something, I want you to start to say, what do I need to see so I can trust someone to do it? And I do think there is a curve on this, meaning you know a lot, right? And they might not know as much, but the more they get to know, the more they start to take the job, and then you can trust them as they bisect that. And so you have to learn to trust them. And if you really think I can't trust these people on the team, that's a whole different topic because they're probably not the right person for your team. So, how do you go from being in control 24/7 to trusting the people that are surrounding them? Because you absolutely decided to put them on your team for a specific reason. So, what is the reason? How do you trust them now? All right, we're going to come to the last part of this, and I want you to do an audit on yourself. I want you to ask questions to yourself. Um, in your business right now, where do people wait on you? Where are they waiting for you to either give an answer, give a report, respond to an email? Now, I'm not saying that you should leverage everything off. That is absolutely not what I'm saying. But I'm saying there's a lot of things that you don't need to be present for. What would only happen if you were there? And then the question is, what would not happen if you weren't there? Look at your business and say, when I go on vacation, what breaks down? Then figure out, is it a person you need to work with, a tool, or a system that you need to put into place? Figure out what decisions you don't want to be made without you, and then put a parameter on this. I remember one of my owners of a company that I was a CEO for gave me a parameter of when I could and couldn't spend money. He said, if it was above this amount, I need approval. If it's below this amount, go for it, Kimberly. That gave me a lot of ownership of saying, he knew, now this wasn't like the first day on the job. He could trust me that I was not going to spend the company's money without a good reason. But he did say, if you go above this limit, I would like to be the one to approve that. So figure out which decisions you can't be made. If I was bringing someone new into the company, I knew kind of the parameters around hiring them and what packages I could offer and what incentives I could put out there. What meetings would disappear if you were gone? Eugh. Are all the meetings required? Are you doing too many meetings because you're not giving everybody the ownership of what they need? When you go on vacation, do you truly go on vacation or do you go on vacation to work? If you look at your family, you might be saying, where am I not present on a regular basis? Am I bringing this to the dinner table? Am I bringing this to the soccer game? Am I bringing this to vacation? It's time for you to get on a break, but the only way you do that is for leverage. Now, I want you to look back at your business now, and I want you to decide on one or two things that you're seeing in your business right now that is you're the bottleneck of. You're the lid that is stopping everything down. I want you to write that down, and I want you to decide today what's one action you can do to start to move that forward. See, awareness is transformational, but you can only transform when you make different decisions. And if you don't make a different decisions, you just know what you're not doing. And I don't want this to be that case. I want you to actually put something in implementation. All right, friends, I trust this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, any things, you can comment, follow, share, all the fun things. See you soon.